Hi there, and welcome to another episode of Ronan Nazrin Talks. I'm one of your hosts, Soldier Ronan from Soldier Ronan Films.
And I'm the other one. I'm Nazrin Prod. I almost forgot my name there. It's just having projector guy on just confuses me.
Yes, and once again, we're joined by two very special guests from across the waters, all the way from Finland. We've got Rennie the Red-Nosed Reindeer, also known as SGS Arts. Yeah. We'll see how long he can keep his antlers up. And Chris, over in Ireland across the Irish Sea.
I feel so unprepared now with these antlers.
We're off to bring a prop. Yeah, that's like. So how are we all doing? And today, we're just going to take a look back of the best films from 2023 that we've watched that aren't from 2023. So it's just basically re-watches or first-time watches of films not born in the year of 2023, because that's the best way to celebrate 2023.
Yes. Yeah, basically because we're all, physical media lunatics who probably watch more from other years than we do of the year itself in a given year is probably the best way to put it. It's like, so the best of the year tends to feel a bit weird. So we try and... I did a best of year on my channel and it felt weird because I only had 4 choices, which was kind of a bit... It was like, okay, that's embarrassing. But yeah, so we're going to cover what we've actually watched, the important things we've watched from the past from this year. So, who wants to begin with giving an example of what they've watched that is brilliant? Who wants to volunteer? Chris, on you go.
Right, I'll go. Okay. I'll go for... God, I just brought a stack of stuff with me. Let's go for a film that everybody's seen. Let's go for a rewatch to start off with. Classic rewatch. Talked about this in the podcast recently. Cool Hand Luke. Hadn't seen it in, 15, 20 years. Something like that. Gets a new 4K edition. And, of course, being the slave to new slim cases. This is the future. No, American did this years ago, but slim cases mean more on shelf. This is like the greatest thing.
I'm not a fan. I want the thick cases.
You want the thick cases? Well, so did I. I used to say, look at the stupid Americans. They have thin cases. We have like classy, like voluptuous kind of thick cases. And now I have shelves where I'm struggling to fit stuff on. I've stacks of things on the floor and I'm thinking, give me small cases. More small cases. Anyway, Cool Hand Luke. Cool Hand Luke is a film that I watched 20 years ago. Thought it was about a kind of anti-establishment kind of guy. It's not really about that at all. It's the construction of the penal system and how we deal with people that have perceivably done wrong. In this case, the guy who removes the tops of parking meters and actually how the severity of the crime and his outcome is kind of a bit besmirched and done all that kind of stuff. It's an absolutely stunning film. Just kind of mind-blowing how much you miss as a younger man and the value of rewatches and kind of going back with an older, more wizened, a more cynical head, I think.
Yeah, I haven't seen it for years either.
Yeah, I think I saw it in TV years, like from a teenager. That's how long it's been. It's like I can barely remember it.
Yeah, I watched it
all
a
you
few
remember
years.
is the eggs.
I watched it a few years ago, but yeah, it's good.
Yeah, but you're younger.
Yeah,
it's less of a problem for them when you're older and your brain cells are rotten.
But it is funny when you're older and you think back at films that you watched many years ago, like classic films, and you kind of think you have it pigeonholed in a certain kind of idea of what it is, and then you go back and rewatch something that's like, this is just not even the same movie anymore. So that's my first choice.
Okay. Hello, and hello there, Cinema Art Therapy. Hello. Say hello, everybody.
Hello, everybody.
That's great joke. So we'll go for SGS Arts now, since we're going to the guest first.
Well, so this is a very recent film actually, but not from this year. But it's Drive My Car by Hamaguchi. So I finally watched this a couple of months ago, and I absolutely fell in love with it, and now it's like my favorite film from the last 5 or 6 years or post Twin Peaks return. But it's kind of my type of movie. It's about relationships. It's about the kind of headspace of this main character and how he deals with loss and tragedy and how he tries to get past that. And it's also about the artistic process, and I love those types of films. And it's a 3-hour movie, but I always say on my channel that I wanted kind of 3 more hours because I was enjoying it so much, and that doesn't happen often with 3-hour movies. And I also watched a couple other films from this director, Wheel of Fortune and Fantasy and Asako 1 and 2, and I like those a lot too, but this to me is clearly the best one out of the 3. And again, it's a very Romerian film, and Romer has become my favorite French director, and I'll talk about him more later. But yeah, again, a instant classic to me, and yeah, very, very good film. Yeah. And this is the Finnish Blu-ray, by the way. There is a movie Blu-ray and Criterion Blu-ray of it, and this is also a very slim case. We have these slim cases here in the Nordic countries, but
I've got it. I haven't watched it yet. It's one of those ones I've got in my. I think because it's a 3-hour film, it's like I need to be in the right mood to watch it, really. But I will get to it. So, Roden, do you want to start?
I'll just go because I've got a bunch, but I'll just do some rewatches that I was glad finally got Blu-ray releases. Sleuth with Michael Caine and Larry Olivier. Fantastic that it's finally got a Blu-ray. And then 3 Warner Archives with slim cases. Land of the Pharaohs, which I just love, even though it's complete nonsense. Joan Collins and Jack Hawkins as a pharaoh, of course. Fastest Gun Alive with Glenn Ford, which is one of my all-time favourite westerns. And Joseph Losey's Boy with Green Hair, his first film, got a Warner Archive Blu-ray. So they're all wonderful, and I would highly recommend them.
It's your list of films that deserve a Blu-ray release. It's getting shorter and shorter.
It is.
I think you should do another one just to give people like these companies are
quite
obviously
impressive.
living off that video. That one video that you didn't think had made an impact has made an enormous impact.
Yep. Lone Star's coming in January, February.
Well, Radiance did this list on Letterboxd about their failed licenses, and I think I'm going to do a video about that because there were a couple of my favorite films there that they haven't been able to license, and it made me so sad. What can you do?
Yeah. Well, at least the ambition towards good stuff, though, and that's the big thing.
Yeah.
Okay. So my first one is it's a box set. It's a Ju-On box set, which is which the reason why I was late to try and get here was I couldn't find it, and it was like, where's it gone?
Still earlier than me, Peter.
So it's got one 4K, which is the Ju-On, but you also got the early ones, the Cuss 2, and you get Ju-On 2, and you get the terrible White Ghost, Black Ghost, which is pretty much direct-to-DVD stuff. But the first four are really terrific. They're really nice ghost stories, really well made, and I like these better than The Ring, and it's a very nice box set. I mean, look how gorgeous it is. Yeah. And this was irresistible to me. I just could not buy it. I had to buy it because it's such a lovely set. You can see how I'm holding it like a weirdo. So that's my
like a physical media fan. I watched the first Ju-On film for the first time this year, and really enjoyed it. But I don't know if it's the 4K-ness of it or otherwise. But the kind of painted face and this scar didn't last for very long, if that makes sense. This kind of we just painted our faces rather than actually being ghosts. But I'm sure at the time when it was slightly worse quality, that would have been even more effective. I think it's the service.
I think it does work better when it's like HD maybe or SD. But I still find it creepy. And just the idea I find creepy. In the same way in The Ring, I don't find the idea creepy, so it's not really doesn't really get to me. Which I think with horror is something on your skin for an irrational reason or not, really. So I was very happy to see them released because I didn't have good copies of them, so it's quite nice to finally have decent copies.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So we'll go back to Chris then.
back to me. Okay, I'll do a double bill of songs about females. One that I've talked about and one that I haven't. So I know Ronan St. Gina from Canadian International Pictures, the kind of exploitation film about a
Fantastic.
erotic dancer that devolves into a revenge film. I'll say no more than that about it, but it is really, really fantastic, and definitely deserves to be seen. There aren't too many copies left in the world because I think even the standard edition is disappearing from the world. But I do recommend Gina as it was recommended to me. And the other one is an Indicator release, which seems to be hated by everybody. I actually did a thumbnail, the film that everybody hated. It's the Song of Songs with Marlene Dietrich, which kind of came after the first quarter period with von Stromberg, and she didn't want to make it, but was under contract. Tried her best not to make it. Mamoulian, who was the director, was kind of forced into doing it in some ways. Everybody did it, but it's this kind of like maligned at the time. But when put it in context of everything that happened before and after it, you kind of go, this is really, really interesting because they took Dietrich, who was a vampy kind of discord, and made her kind of almost this a sweet, innocent thing to go and show her that way. And I think that's probably why she didn't like it, because she was on a different trajectory of her career. But you can tell it's pre-code, this idea that she meets a young artist and a young sculptor, and he decides that he's going to make a naked bust or sculpture of her. And I mean, I was a bit worried when I was even making the thumbnail that I can't put the naked bust on it because it'll be hit by the censors. And for a film from 1933, yes, as it was, I think now I can watch it and go, I think this is sort of brilliant and underappreciated, and just typical of Indicator. You kind of say, here you go, here's no film that needs revisited.
Yeah, I liked it. I enjoyed it. I mean, it does have a certain oddness to it, as you said,
Yeah,
just because of Dietrich and her persona. But it's an interesting little film.
So we're in SGS Arts now.
Yeah. So this film I talked about when I was a guest on Chris's podcast. So it's Red Angel by Masumura. So this to me was, again, that is one of the best war films of all time, and it's one of those great war films that aren't like very patriotic, but it actually takes like a self-critical viewpoint on war and shows that the Japanese men that took part in the war were pretty awful people, many of them, and it's also kind of an attack against patriarchy. It's a very kind of feminist film, and also very beautifully shot, extremely bleak, great characters, great ending where we finally get the war scenes near the end. Most of the film is just in these like small, again, corridors where all these patients are, and again, but in the end we get the war stuff. But yeah, again, a masterpiece and one of the best war films of all time, in my opinion.
Yeah, if you'd expect him to say about Private Ryan, it's not that.
Yeah,
it is heartbreaking in a lot of ways. But it's an absolute stunning, brilliant movie, and glad to see the amount of people that when they do watch it, all kind of come around to the same opinion of this is like so different a war film, but no less impactful. Even though it kind of takes the perspective from like a character we don't normally talk about more.
Yeah, it is weird that it's a film that just about everybody agrees on.
Mm-hmm.
Which I haven't seen, but even though I've got it, I haven't seen it yet.
So we'll get a
what
WTF is this? Yeah.
I just haven't seen it. It's one of those things. That thing when you've got to get everything out, and he's like, "Oh, I was in a hurry and I forgot a couple of titles." Oh boy.
Yeah, it's once again Masamura doing different things, and maybe that's why he doesn't have the reputation of other people, just because he did so many different kinds of films.
Niche audience.
Okay,
Sure.
so SGS done his Solitary Road, and you're next. I'm really confused because I'm doing it this. I'm doing it in weird order.
What were you thinking of?
I know.
So this is actually, I suppose, a modern film. Jinx Crivens.
It's not what I come to you for at all.
I know. But this is one of the better modern films I've seen because it just kind of is right up my alley. It's on Body and Soul.
Whoa.
From Hungary.
Wow.
It is. I think it's 2020 or something.
I
Not
think
quite
we're
sure. It
in
might
the end,
actually be
Yeah.
after that. Just an odd little film about two kind of disparate people who have the same dream about being a deer. Yep.
Okay.
That's pretty much it. But it's just wonderful, and again, it's just an atmosphere, and there's no kind of easy answers or explanations, but it's just quite wonderful. And I would highly recommend it, even though it's modern.
Yeah.
Oh my god. He's definitely going ill. It's
Yeah.
Do we need to phone a doctor for you?
Possibly, might have to go and lie down after this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean it's 999 time for you.
Yeah.
Okay,
I love Body and Soul. It's a film that shows the power of cinema. You can dress up in a really icky, inappropriate relationship and just say that we've both seen deers, and people go, "Oh, they're made for each other." You know, it's
Yeah, it's not an easy watch, but it's also a really rewarding watch.
also has a great sideline plot about how they can mess with impregnation of cattle as well. You know,
Yeah,
which every film needs.
every film
Yes.
needs. There should be more of that happens. Yeah,
the way we describe it, it could almost be Japanese, but it's not.
it's not. I can't believe it's not Japanese. Yeah, indeed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oops. My thing keeps on falling out. Right.
Hope it doesn't do it in
Smack
public.
Breakers, 18
Oh.
rated.
Okay. I meant my headphones, not anything else.
You should have said that.
And, shut up.
Cinema does get us excited.
I found the thing I was looking for. I've been starting going with this a lot. I was looking for this thing, and I finally got it, which is Rapa Nui.
Yes, I
Which
was
is,
waiting for Rapa
Oh yes. Well, basically, it was a film that came and went in the cinema. It was like quite such a weird idea about doing Easter Island, and no one was interested. So the film was made. No one, the critics hated it. No one cared, and it was hard to hold off for decades. Now they've done a nice little release. It looks very nice in this Warner's Archives edition. They actually did a proper remaster of it. It's a flawed film because its lead performance is not very good, but the atmosphere is terrific and it's pretty dark. It goes to dark places, and it's a great action scene halfway through, which is basically a challenge. It's just a clear example of physical action, really. Rather than lots of special effects. This was done for real, and the actors were cold and miserable, and probably half them wish were dead making this sequence. So if you like The Beast, it's the same director as The Beast, and it's that same sense of physicality and doom. Really, things are going to go bad. So it's not for everybody, but it's a very enjoyable film. So that's me.
Nice. Very nice. Back to me.
Yes.
Okay, let's go for some kung fu movies or Asian
Ooh.
movies of some sort.
I
Let's go
thought
for
we were going to get you actually start doing some moves and the way
Yes,
you were doing.
I'm inspired to take up some classes and retire about 3 weeks later with a career-ending injury.
I would say 1 week.
I think. Well, I'm trying to be optimistic. I wouldn't go if it was just 1 week. 3 weeks, I might say I used to do taekwondo or something. Talk about Magic Cop to start off with. The story of a guy who's kicked off the force for his unorthodox mystical methods, and then, of course, is needed to use the mystical methods. The kind of guy that lives on the edge of society. And they said he's weird. He's brilliant, but he's weird. We can't have him around us. And then, of course, he's needed. That's good fun. But actually, spoiler for what I made my video. And at the end of the year, my favorite release of the year might be Long Arm of the Law 1 and 2. Not expecting what was in, especially Long Arm of the Law 1 is like this, what feels like very low budget kind of take on a crime gang in Hong Kong. But it has like this underlying social breakdown of Hong Kong going back into Chinese rule and stuff, and it's like, again, things you're not expecting in cinema or otherwise. Now, the makers kind of sort of says that wasn't me, kind of thing. Wasn't really thinking about that, but it's definitely there and was probably in the zeitgeist during the time that it's being made. Like, this is incredible. I just sat there kind of going, yes, in the midst of all the action and the kind of very brutal nature of the film, there is this underbelly of a lot of other stuff going on. Oh my God, was terrific. Absolutely terrific.
I would say the thing that surprised me with Magic Cop was there wasn't more of them. It just does seem to be a standalone film. You could easily see that being a trilogy because it's a lot of fun.
It's sort of riffed some Mr. Vampire, on that kind of idea. But you're right. I mean, it should have been like a series of 20 films. Yeah.
I can see SGS actually going to rush out and get these. You can just tell him his look. He's
big man.
He's like, what am I missing?
Roadhouse is enough for me when it comes to martial arts.
That's the zenith.
Yeah. Why do you need more? So SGS turn.
Yeah, so the next set of films I watched on the Criterion channel, but they are coming on Blu-ray early next year. So it's the Eric Romer's Tale of Four Seasons films, and 3 of those became like instant favorites, and one of them is also great. So they are that really, again, kind of, they show the basic romance style, so they are kind of minimalist films. They are about relationships and love, so they really aren't for solitary Ronin, but what can you do? But they are very, again, the dialogue in them is great. I love the visual style, and again, these themes in these films really are relatable for me, and I'm really interested in these types of films. And I have seen like 20 Romer films now, I think, and these are some of the best ones. And after I watched these, and after I rewatched some other Romer films, he actually became my favorite French director. I even prefer him now to Robert Bresson, Godard, and all those other favorites of mine, which is pretty insane.
Rivette?
And even Rivette, yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I don't know you anymore.
Yeah.
You've changed.
Yeah.
I might
I like
change
Romer
that
actually as well. I need to watch more of his films, but I went through a phase like 10 years ago watching a lot of his films. I need to rewatch them because I got them in Blu-ray, but I haven't. The thing is, like, there's only so much films you can watch in a year. But they are terrific. His style is wonderful. Very human and very kind of people are complicated rather than just being simplistic, which makes it really work. So
yeah, I mean, Roma to me is kind of a bit like Ozu and Fellini. It's perhaps the idea of them in my head, has made me not get around to actually watching the films yet, but I'll watch them eventually. I think I've got one or two in the backlog. So.
Yeah, it's sort of like Ozu with him. He's like, it's too classy for him. He's not ready yet. Is that right?
Yeah.
That's so patronizing. Sorry.
That's fine. I'm not as smart as you three. As I'm about to show.
This is where it starts now. We started. So hello, Tony. Welcome to chat.
Yeah, hello, Tony.
Yes.
If I wasn't surrounded by middle-aged straight guys, I would start flirting with you like I do in my videos. But not today.
Look, we need
fair enough. You're flexing your antlers. So.
Yeah. No, I mean, we need that in society. We need that to. There you go.
What a pair.
There you go.
He's hornying up already, yeah.
It's suggestive in ways that as old people will never understand.
No.
Yes, as long as it doesn't start rotting.
Yeah. Right. So Ronin stunt.
My choice is along the lines of Chris. I blame Nazarene for picking up the first sets, the Sonny Chiba selection from Shout Factory. If you want bang for your buck, there's 7 films in this set, and I recently got Volume 2 as well, which has another 7. I've only watched one of these. But these are so much fun, and it's Sonny Chiba in different milieus. You know, some of them are samurai films. There's a couple actually either released by Eureka or about to be released by Eureka.
Yeah.
But you get samurai films, you get kung fu films, you get yakuza films. You know, so they're not all the same genre. So it really is a mix, and they're wonderful sets. And as I said, yes, they're expensive, but you do get 7 films, and the prints are immaculate so far. So I can recommend them if you want to save up, but you do get 7 films in each set. So
I was actually going to bring up a few actually as well from that collection individually, like The Fall of
Yeah, you
Axel
can-
Castle and Samurai Reincarnation was
yeah,
insane.
which is out in Eureka as well.
Yeah.
I know,
that's
yeah.
fantastic.
There's some a lot of the stuff now from this collection is coming over here individually, but they're all wonderful. But Fall of Axel Castle was 47 Ronin done really, really wonderfully.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's probably my favourite I've seen of so far. That adaptations of that story.
Yeah, and as I said, the really good thing about those sets is you're not getting 7 of the identical films. They're all different. So
Yep.
But
So
it was nice to discover Chiba, because I obviously Chiba I hadn't seen anything really by, other than him being this archetype that's in a lot of Tarantino films. Obviously, that's the one that he took for a lot of them. But he's a very different performer than a lot of the other classic people that we have seen. You know, there's definitely a larger body frame than the very sleek Jackie Chan, Bruce Lee, any of those kind of guys. And his films are very different because of it. So
yeah, he's rough and rowdy, and
yeah.
yeah, but he did more actually in some ways because he expanded more than some of the other actors because he was less in a rut. He was in Battles for Humanity and Honor. He was in one of those
Yeah.
films. He worked with that director a lot and did some good stuff, including The Fall of Axel Castle. It's one of those things where it could have been locked into style, but he actually managed to break out of it. So that was really well done with him. So that saves me having to bring up some of these films. That's good.
Yeah.
But yes, I've got the second one on the way in the post. My turn. It's Martin, the Jordan Romero film. That is you can get the big, well, we probably can't anymore, but the special edition from Second Sight. But I'm not doing that because I'm not spending an extra £25 to get a nice box. I just want the film and the extras. It's just like, I'm not doing it. It's the same when I saw Crimes of the Future. I was like, I'm not spending all that money just for a box. I'll wait and get it when it's cheaper, when it's just reasonable. But Martin is just wonderful. It's been remastered. It was done in 16mm, so it's never going to look great. But it's about a guy who thinks he's a vampire. But he's probably mentally ill, but you never quite know. And here we go. No 13. Loves the reindeer both survives. Thank you very much. SGS, you behave now, okay?
Yeah, I'm trying.
Right.
Private steps.
Yeah, so
But I'm
Martin
so horny. I'm so horny. Yeah.
so is Martin, and he gets staked. Okay? Just telling you.
spoiler
Oh,
alert.
Yeah. So yeah,
I need to watch
Martin's
it, right?
wonderful. So go watch. I'm trying to mix this with Threats to SGS arts now, so that's good. Mix.
Yeah, you could actually
Right.
make the argument that Martin's is Romero's best film.
Yeah, I think it's his favourite of his own films. The one it was more like the film he wanted to make.
Yeah. That
Yeah, I've
night,
only seen the zombie movie, so yeah, I haven't seen that one. Yeah.
Yeah. Now there's a lot of good ones like Dark Half and Monkey Shines, Creep Show, Night Riders. There's a lot of stuff he did that was not zombies. Just those are the films he got financing for. Really. So Janice with your horns instead of a gun. Okay. And so it's Chris again.
Me, okay. 2 Asian films that aren't kung fu, that aren't, well, kind of fall a bit in the I don't know what they are kind of thing. We have the James Bond take of Golgo 13 with Ken Takakura is his name. Again, can't believe there wasn't about 20 of these either. The super sleuth kind of guy.
Well, I would say there's actually one of the sequels are on this with Sonny Chiba.
Right. Okay. So there was one. There was one, but again, a very physical actor. One of those films that I sort of enjoyed at the time because I couldn't not see the James Bondness of it, but actually subsequently rewatching a lot of fun and great Hitman kind of movie. And then the really weird, I only lifted one of the Third Window films this year, but from the director's company, Door and Door 2. If anybody's seen those, Door being this sort of weird home invasion movie of sorts. The other director's company films, I haven't seen Typhoon Club yet, but this is infinitely better than The Guard from Underground or The Guard from Hell. It's really effective, and some of the camera work at the very end is spectacular. Some of the ideas and setup they've done for what is a pretty low budget movie, they must have only been able to do one take of it. And Door is terrific.
Yeah, they're all in my backlog. Even Kiyoshi Kurosawa wasn't that proud of Guard from Underground.
He doesn't want to talk about it.
Yeah,
but it's fine.
Looking forward to watching them.
Yeah, I haven't seen Golog yet. It's one of those wonders. Like I'll get it soon. It's just there's so much released this year. It's like there's no way you can actually afford to buy everything. Really, there's too much. Someone's like, "Oh, you'll miss out now the slip cover. You don't buy it now." It's like, I'll be fine.
I'm all right with that.
Yeah,
yes,
I can live for a slip cover. So it's SGS Arts time.
Yeah.
Now, don't get carried away with that reindeer stuff, okay?
Yeah. So the next film I'm gonna talk about is available on Third Window Blu-ray, but I watched it online, but I want to get the Blu-ray. But it's called Kamikaze Girls, and it's from the mid-2000s, and it's this absolutely insane film about this young woman who is obsessed about the Rococo period, and she dresses in these weird dresses, but she meets this kind of weird punk biker girl, and they become this relationship, and there's this kind of hints there that they might become like a lesbian couple, but they don't show it explicitly. But it has these kind of crazy colors. It has this, again, it's kind of like Sion Sono, but even kind of more crazy in the colors, and it's just so much fun. It's so stylistic and beautiful, and it has that kind of gay type of aesthetic, and I absolutely love it visually, and also it's very entertaining. It's not a very deep type of film, but it's more that's just kind of very stylistic blast. It's kind of like a lowbrow movie, but made with art house style. So I would highly recommend that to everybody. I know Nazarene is definitely a type of person who would absolutely love this film, as you love Chugamoto and Sono and people like that. So yeah,
I have to get to it. It's just again, there's so many films to watch. I'm way behind this year. It's like this year I looked at what I watched, and it's like, yeah, I watched a lot, but I used to watch much more. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's been in my basket for a while, but I've never actually pulled the trigger yet. I will do now.
So it's your turn.
Well, the next three, I'm just going to show in this wee bunch. I'm going to blame Chris for, because these are Vinegar Syndrome partner label films. The first one is Natural Enemies by Fun City Edition. This is absolutely brilliant. Hal Holbrook and Louise Fletcher as a family man with a wife and two kids who decides to kill himself and kill them. And it's very much like Le Faux Follet by Louis Malle. He spends the day before he's going to kill them and himself kind of thinking about, am I going to do it? Why am I doing it? Talking to people. He goes to a brothel and has sex with 4 women and discusses his relationship. And there's this wonderful scene with all the prostitutes kind of having philosophical discussions with him. It's a wonderful film, and it's another example of these kind of Vinegar Syndrome partner labels that, for me, these are far more interesting than the films that Vinegar Syndrome releases. And along those same lines, from Canada International Pictures, Canadian International Pictures, Don't Let the Angels Fall, which is on the the surface a simple tale of a man who's having an affair and then the results of the effects of his family, but it's done in an art house way. Beautiful black and white cinematography, and I actually kind of prefer this to like Bergman's Scenes from a Marriage, because it's just so wonderfully done. You'll probably recognise the lead actor from the Andromeda Strain. It's just such a great film, and it's just shot so interestingly that, again, you certainly wouldn't get it in a Hollywood version of this story. It's just absolutely wonderful. And then one of my films of the year from Canny, who are another Vinegar Syndrome label, it's Sellout, which is just absolutely phenomenal. Part musical, part look at capitalism and advertising. The company is phony, not Sony, not very subtle, but the songs, you actually get the soundtrack in the release. There's a couple of absolute classic songs. It's Malaysian. I'm getting my Taiwan and Malay mix up. It's Malaysian. It's just absolutely wonderful as a satire and a musical. And you'll just laugh all the way through it, pretty much. But that's all Chrissy's fault.
You're welcome.
Okay, so I'll go now with. I want to get these over with. Basically, the Dollars trilogy in 4K.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, basically, they've been upgraded. They look gorgeous now. They look really wonderful in 4K. The thing about these films is they always looked kind of rough on DVD. Looks a bit better on Blu-ray, but in 4K they really come out much more, and the stylization's great. And the good thing is, the Good, the Bad, and Ugly is the earlier shortcut in 4K, which is the better cut, and they're just wonderful. You just sit back and enjoy them and just watch some genius at work. I mean, these are not intellectual films at all. They're just entertainment, but done at the height of just ridiculousness, and they are just wonderful to watch. I mean, there's no real defense of them beyond the fact they're just so entertaining. That's it. That's all they are. I know some people like to talk about other themes, but there's not actually really that many. It's much more the enjoyment of the craftsmanship. So, yeah, that's kind of the obvious ones.
Nice.
Chris.
Back to me. Since you started on the partner label one, I'm not even going near the big ones. I'm sure it's a big stack of yours. I'll let you go. I'll talk about two documentaries. One that I talked about earlier on the year, Kanasatake, the 270 years of resistance. So the displacement of Native Americans or Native North Americans in Canada from place because they want to build an extended golf course, which is I think the step too far. I think as soon as that was mentioned in the documentary, you're like, well, I mean, this is just beyond ridiculous. But sort of like a document of how these conflicts have changed since the advent of mobile phones, etc., has changed how news has gone when people just had to go and live with the protesters. And the other one that I'll talk about is a documentary from AGFA. It's the Glorious Ladies of Wrestling documentary about the TV show that was Glorious Ladies of Wrestling in the 80s and them sort of meeting together at the end. But the fact that they didn't even realize Matt Simber was the guy responsible for an awful lot of it, of Hollywood actor fame much earlier, etc. It's a really interesting documentary. It even has a commentary led by Billy Corgan of the Smashing Pumpkins. There you go. That's he can explain why and what he's doing there. It's an excellent commentary. It's almost like another documentary in itself, as it turns out. It's really terrific. So, Glorious Ladies of Wrestling, excellent, great slip coverage as well. You know,
yeah. But we don't bother with slip covers.
Yeah.
Yes.
So my next film is a film that isn't available on physical media at the moment, but I think you can maybe find like an out-of-print DVD on eBay if you want. But it's Tsai Ming Liang's The Wayward Cloud. So Tsai Ming Liang is the director who made Goodbye Dragon Inn, for example, that is available on second run. But most of his films, or many of his films, aren't that well available on Blu-ray, unfortunately. But he's one of the 3 big Taiwanese new wave directors, along with Edward Yang and Ho Xiaoshen. But this film is absolutely nuts. Like, it's this film about Taipei when there is a drought. Again, people kind of get addicted to watermelons because they need that hydration. But then they start to have this kind of weird sex where the watermelons are involved and stuff. And there are these kind of, again, scenes when they are shooting porn and everything. And then there are these musical pieces in this film as well. And it's slow cinema. So not many people are talking there. And it's very slow paced. But you have these constant scenes of really weird stuff. But it sounds like really insane. But it's actually a very deep film about, like, again, modern day alienation. It's about how people try to find human connection and happiness through, like, very different, very weird methods. But yeah, it's such a great film, and it's actually now my favorite Tsai Ming-liang film, even though I have seen a lot of them. I think I've seen like 9 or 10 of them, so almost all of the feature-length fiction films, but this is my favorite now, and hopefully somebody will release it. But again, you can find it online if you do some digging, and this is the type of film that maybe Mubi has on streaming here and there and places like that, but it's kind of hard to find. But again, maybe there is a out-of-print DVD on eBay or something.
Okay, cool. Ronan?
Good stuff. Well, I went on a little bit of a kind of Czech-Russian Pohodky fairy tale stuff. So in these collector edition bits of cardboard,
That's good enough.
the Mysterious Castle in the Carpathians, which is coming to Deaf Crocodile, which is one of my 2 favourite new labels of this year. Who Wants to Kill Jesse, again, in this wonderful cardboard
Yeah, I bought that
edition.
because it was a recommendation as well. So
Yep. And the wonderful Girl on a Broomstick, which is basically Harry Potter in the 70s, but with a girl. Amazing, again, collector's edition. And the Golden Key, which is wonderful in this made to order Bazaar DVD collector's edition. There's another one that I'll get to later, but they're all just so much fun, and it's great how the Czech film industry managed to get all these messages through the censors, because if they made fairy tale films, the censors didn't really get like the metaphors and stuff like that, whereas obviously if they made overtly political films, they ended up in prison. So it's a good way of loading your film with messages if you just say it's a fairy tale instead.
cool. Right. I'm going to go for there's a whole bunch of Alan Clark films. I'll just go through them just now. Psy Warriors, Beloved Enemy, Bukowski, Nina, and Made in Britain all are wonderful films from Alan Clark in the 80s, and they look at all sorts of things from like the arms trade to psychological warfare to the communists who come over from Russia and neo-Nazis in Britain. Just wonderful films, very unsentimental. They pretty much look at the causes. They're very much focused on the writing and focused on the acting and not getting in the way of that. And they're just wonderful films. Alan Clark's one of those directors are brilliant. I try and not overdo it with him. Like, I'll watch a bunch and I'll stop. I'll watch another bunch and I'll stop, just to keep enjoying them. Plus, I'm trying to spread these out so that they're limited. Many there are because he died in the early 90s. So I'm moving backwards rather than going from start to finish. I'm going from end to the beginning. So expect more to look at more next year. But these are all amazing films. They're all just wonderful.
Bravo. I love that you keep on championing Alan Clark, because it keeps on reminding him and putting him in front of my face to go back and watch some more. Doing God's work. Back to me.
Yep. We should say Chris has an exit, but I think we'll see how it goes. But we've talked.
I'm fine.
Chris will go, and we'll keep going when he's.
How many movies can we talk about? Talk about all of the movies.
Well, when things about 10 past, I'll give you a chance to go through the rest of yours.
Yeah,
that means you can go through them, and then you can keep going
Yeah.
if we have any more.
Awesome. I'm going to talk about a sort of weird double bill. So we only have one of them. I forgot to grab the other one. So Menace to Society from Criterion, which came out last year. I got to watch this year. This kind of very brutal and harrowing take on gun culture, especially in these, what I will say is young black communities, because nobody lives for very bloody long in them, and the very high rates of death. Contrast that with the very recent Criterion release with Dry Longzo, done by Colleen Smith, which looks at it from a slightly other angle, looks at it from an artistic angle, and a young woman who is in college trying to do study, sort of seems to be a layabout, kind of not really engaging with her studies, but wants to do a take or an exhibition on the young black male as being an extinct animal, and actually how she goes ahead and does that. And kind of these two films side by side are like this fascinating different take on exactly the same subject material. And I think Dry Longzo was amazing, especially for a film that was showcased and never given any distribution or publication at the time, because nobody really thought it would catch, and now has come out in Criterion, etc., all of that kind of stuff. While Criterion are much maligned, there's another example of why physical media and kind of companies that are doing restorations, etc., like that are very important. It's terrific. And this is a pretty disc as well.
Yeah, I mean, there's a big turn back to physical media now, I think, because they're realizing streaming is not all be on the end all, because you're losing so much stuff. I think it's now a case of, okay, if you're serious, you want to have a Blu-ray or 4K player or something, and if you just want stuff to basically rent, you can watch streaming. I think that's kind of how it's breaking down now.
Yeah, plus they can dictate what version you see.
Yeah, that's true. For people like us, especially, it's all about interesting films rather than just the Oppenheimer, Barbie, the kind of stuff that the major studios are kind of push. Like they're talking about the fact how well they did in physical media, but that's only because they were the biggest releases. You know, they're trying to make as much money as they can out of them, and it's not really sustaining an entire industry just because of a couple of films.
Okay, so SGS.
Yeah, so the next film I watched on HBO Max, but it's also on Criterion Channel, and it's on a Criterion box set, the Rossellini and Ingrid Bergman set. So it's Europe 51, which is now my favorite Rossellini film and one of my absolute favorite films of all time. It's about this, again, upper middle class woman played by Ingrid Bergman. She lives this alienating, empty life, but then she realizes that it would be better to have empathy for people who don't have much. So she goes to meet these random people who are sick and poor, and she tries to help them. So it's a film all about the ethics and how we could build a better society if people actually care about each other, and how we could realize this kind of a great world if everybody just did a little for others, and then you could also find happiness yourself from helping other people. And again, one of the reasons I was really interested in watching it, because Tony recommended it, and he loves Rossellini or Gazzellini a lot. But a great movie. Again, more people should watch it.
I've got that box set, but have not watched it yet. It's one of those ones that's like...
Me too.
But the War trilogy is amazing.
Yeah, those are great.
I've got a fairly nasty film that they couldn't really make anymore, but it's also quite fantastic. The Hunting Party with Oliver Reed and Candice Bergman and Gene Hackman. Candice Bergman gets treated horribly in this film. It's fairly misogynistic, but it's also about a bunch of rich people led by Gene Hackman going after Oliver Reed and his bunch, and essentially executing them as opposed to bringing them to justice to face for their crimes. It's just absolutely brutal, but also quite fantastic. Simon Oakland's in it, Elke Jones. It's almost like a film by Peckinpah, but it wasn't directed by Peckinpah. It was directed by Don Medford. But that's another amazing Oliver Reed performance. And my admiration for Reed has just grown over the last few years from, again, as I've said before, his reputation when I was growing up was just being a drunk and chat shows. But that's another amazing.
Which he was.
Yes, which he was, but you know, it was actually one of the best actors of all time as well.
Yeah, I mean, I did a Oliver Reed season earlier on in the year, including stuff like the Assassination Bureau, The Devils, things like that. So that's all available if you want to see. The Devils was amazing to rewatch because I'd not seen it for a long time, and I was like, wow, that's really something.
Yeah, one of the greatest films of all time. I just did a ranking of my favorites, and it made into like top 40 or top 30, I think. So.
Yeah, it is wonderful. So my next one is I'll go back to my boxes. Naked Lunch.
Oh,
the box set that is beautiful. It's a wonderful film. I'm a massive Cronenberg fan, but this box set is lovely, really lovely. You get posters, you get booklets, and you get lots of, you know, documentary stuff. And the film in 4K, it's just a gorgeous box set for a film you have to pay attention to, and because it's got multiple layers in it, and you can read it in various ways. I've watched it plenty of times and read it in different ways, so there's more than one reading of what's going on. And if you've, like me, read William Burroughs, it's also really interesting to see how they adapt William Burroughs into this film because it's very different. You know, Burroughs is a hard writer to read if you're very conventional. You know, it's he's not the easiest to read. So
you're a man of contradictions, Peter.
Ronan made me buy that box set and broke because of him. Ronan,
what box set would that be?
You've been accused.
Which box?
Been accused of making people buy box sets. Ridiculous.
Yeah.
What a world.
Influencer. Yeah.
That's
you. Yeah. No, Peter, you're a man of contradictions. He was never buying another hard box set again, and then the right film, the right time, the right place. You're just like the rest of us, Peter.
I never said that. I said I'm not buying sight ones. That's it. It's like they're way too expensive. The Iron ones are less expensive than the second sight ones.
I was just trying to make the joke that we're all the same, Peter, to be perfectly honest, because I've come to the same sort of realization myself.
Ruining his power.
Yeah, but well, Cineart Therapy bought the complete collection of the TV show, The OC, because of me and Tony. So, yeah.
He'll not regret that, though. SJS, he will not regret that at all.
Cineart Therapy's got me off the hook.
Yeah. So, all Ronan's fault. So, all blame Ronan for everything in life. Well, good with that.
Seems unfair, but there you go.
Okay, brought enough jokes.
Right, Chris and you.
On me, Water Archive started releasing in the UK this year. Thought I'd pick two I've talked about before. Naked Spur. Myself and Ronan ended up going down a very big Westerns rabbit hole earlier on this year. I was actually going back to that list going, oh my God, I have only seen about a quarter of that list still. But I could have added in things like Man Without a Star, which I've seen this year, which was also great as well. But The Naked Spur, Anthony Mann, James Stewart, Janet Leigh film, brilliant. And then like the great discovery of Warner Archive this year was The Gold Diggers of 33, which is a Busby Berkeley film that goes from being a light whimsical kind of slapstick romantic comedy into like one of the most serious thought-provoking pieces of film for the last 10 minutes. Don't miss it.
Yeah, I need to pick that up.
Yeah.
So is Reindeers. It's really
don't need them. Got the ultimately great box sets that were these DVD ones with the little folio case. They're the boss.
Yeah, I gave my niece my old Buffy the Vampire Slayers.
You what?
I gave my teenage niece Buffy the Vampire Slayers so she get into it. What's wrong with that?
I mean, it's a good idea, but then I wouldn't be able to do this with Sarah Michelle Gellar. Sorry, that's a bit creepy.
Yeah.
Apologies to Sarah and her family if she's watching.
Yes.
you wish she was that size and your hands were that size. Yeah.
Yes. Oh god, this is going so off the rails
Yes,
now.
SGS,
SGS, save us, please.
save us.
Yeah. So I'm gonna continue talking about some Japanese films, as that's been the major theme of the year for me. So I'm gonna mention 2 Yasujiro Ozu films that I watched for the first time this year. Yeah.
Continue.
Yeah.
Been thrown off.
So the first Ozu film is called Tokyo Twilight. That is from 1957. I think it's one of his last, if not his last, black and white film. And the thing about that film that I really enjoyed is that it's kind of a bit more bleak than most Ozu films. Ozu is a director where most of his films are kind of samey, not in a bad way, but in a good way. Again, he's my favorite Japanese filmmaker, so I'm not criticizing him. But the Tokyo Twilight is like extremely bleak, and it has even those kind of Antonioni kind of Alienation trilogy vibes to it, how it shoots the architecture and stuff, and how it has that very bleak black and white cinematography. But then I'm losing my train of thought. But,
Well, really?
the other Ozu film is The End of Summer, which is one of his, again, other like late period films. It's from the early 60s. It's a color film, and to me, one of his best. But sometimes it seems to be a bit underrated. Maybe it's not usually brought up in the conversation for one of his best films. But watching these 2 films that ended up becoming like instant favorites just showed me even more how great Ozu is. He was also already in my like top 10 directors of all time, but now he's like top 5. I think he's like 4th now in my ranking. So that's how much I love him, and his films are just comfort food. I can watch them whenever. They are just so perfect. And Ronin, you need to get your act together still and watch them.
Yeah. Well, I've been touched on for years because Ozu's in my top 5, for years, for a decade now. And
Well, the 2 Ozu films that I've watched are 5-star films. I do have Tokyo Twilight as well, which I should really watch next because, as people say, it's bleak, which could right up my alley.
if you insist that Kurosawa's the best, really, I mean, come on.
Yeah,
No, well, I say that
Kobayashi's probably second. So.
Yeah, I said a pretty controversial thing in one of my latest podcasts. I said that Seven Samurais like quarter pounder with cheese when harakiri is like a Michelin star dinner. So yeah,
I don't
people
think
might
that's
get over about that.
That's
Yeah.
All right, so Rodin, now you can get Revenge of the World.
Well, I can't do one without mentioning Indicator. So, arguably the best box set of the year, even though I've got one to show that might have taken the title, is Indicator's Mexico Macabre set, which is absolutely brilliant. The Black Pit of Dr. M, the Brainiac, the Witch's Mirror, and the Curse of the Crying Woman, another version of Valorona. Absolutely stacked with extras, and I would highly recommend it. And a couple of single titles. They Might Be Giants. Obviously, I'm not a fan of George C. Scott, but this one's an absolute stunner. Really,
That was on my list,
everything
so I can take off things.
yeah, absolutely fantastic. And Joanne Woodward's brilliant as well. And then they've fallen in love with Jean Roland and released lots of 4Ks. But The Shiver of the Vampire is, for me, easily the best one. It's an absolute. It's completely nuts, but that cover. And the film itself is absolutely brilliant. But Fascination's wonderful as well, and the film, and lots of. I mean, they're a certain quality of film, but they're absolutely gorgeous and wonderful and weird and bizarre.
Decadent is the word I would use to describe Roland. Like he is over the top, and Shiver the Vampires might be just the best because the soundtrack is just so pitch perfect for the mood of it. Like I love it. So good.
Okay, it's my turn now. I'm going for Sergio Salimo. There's so many of these. I don't have any. I don't put the boxes down because we've got the Big Gun down. We've got Face to Face. We've got Run Man Run, Revolver, and Violent City. So this year's been a massive thing for me to see Salimo's films because they're just wonderful. I mean, they're really insane. They're political. They're dark. They're unpredictable, and they just have just insane character arcs that has a political side, but they're really good character works. I mean, each one, I can't choose a favorite of any of these. I mean, Revolver has a great Oliver Reed performance. Violent City has a good Charles Bronson performance, which doesn't happen that often. Oops. And Face to Face has Volante, full-on Volante, and basically the Western trilogy is just like a deconstruction of the Western revenge myth and society, and it's just wonderful. So, Sergio Salimo, you should really see his films because they are just wonderful. They're just great examples of Italian cinema in the 70s and 60s.
Terrific. Yeah, I've seen a lot of those myself this year and concur wholeheartedly.
Yep.
Back to me. I've only got one of them here, but let's go for the Studio Canal French little mini wave that did. So City of Lost Children, they did Delicatessen, which I haven't seen or re-seen yet, should I say, but the pick a lot was Brotherhood of the Wolf. First time watch for me, funny enough. Brotherhood of the Wolf. Stunned, it would be an understatement to say, as this kind of film went on this little journey that it went on. One, I stuck it on, I thought, how long? Yeah, it's a bloody werewolf. How could it be this long? And then by the end, it was like I could have done with another 3 hours of it. It was the kind of period setting of a twisty-turny tale of the film. I thought Brotherhood of the Wolf was amazing. And the disc is, or the discs, should I say plural, is just stacked full of like feature after feature after feature after feature. And bravo to Studio Canal rather than just taking the easy way out. I think with an awful lot of what would be 4K stuff, kind of getting a mix of underappreciated, underseen, some things that people don't even like. And it looks like they're going to continue that next year as well, which is a big supporter of that.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. It's about 7 genres in one film, but it actually works, and it's got Vincent Cassel and subtle mode as usual, and Monica Bellucci. And it's absolutely wonderful.
Yes. I almost saw this year as well. Like, there's a notoriously bad dubbed version which I tried to watch a few years ago, and it was so awful, and I gave up pretty quick. So I saw it in the French version this year, and I was like, "Oh yeah, that's why it's a good film."
Yeah.
So I've got it streaming in 4K, but I haven't got the disc yet. I'm sure I'll pick the disc up at some point, but it's just but it is a really good fun film.
It's also got one of the best monster reveals, I think, that there is in a lot of ways, because like you kind of think you're going to be underwhelmed as that happens in an awful lot of films, but in this case, because of how they did it, it's like, okay, that's really effective. So
yeah, I saw this just the same time as I saw Drive, which is an unmarked Damascus film, which I also hadn't seen before.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not on my list or anything, but it was another one I really enjoyed, and it was like, wow, I remember a good time with this actor in the 90s. He seemed to have done quite a few good films. But it's great fun. So, Rennie the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Yeah, so my next...
shiny nose.
Yeah. Then one foggy Christmas Eve, Santa came. Yeah. I was actually singing it before this podcast. But anyway, so my next choice is actually an animated film, very very recent one called The Silent Voice, and it's about bullying and depression, social anxiety, and these things. So it's a very dark film. So the story is that there's this deaf girl, and she goes to new school, and then she gets bullied there. But then the guy who bullies her becomes bullied himself, and he develops this awful social anxiety, and then he starts to regret the fact that he bullied that deaf girl, and then he tries to make it up for her, and they become friends. But anyway, this was a very relatable film for me. It made me really emotional and depressed after I watched it, but it has also like beautiful animation, beautiful music, great characters. But after I watched it, I was just like so depressed. I was just looking at the blank wall and listening to my favorite Radiohead songs and getting all depressed. So again, when a film can have that kind of impact on me, I think it has to be a very special film. And definitely, I think it's probably my favorite Japanese animated film now, and I've rated it very highly. Yeah, I loved it a lot.
Cool.
Good stuff.
I've not seen that one.
These are yeah, I'm going to talk about some Criterion 4Ks. I don't talk about Criterion as often as I used to. But Devil in a Blue Dress by Carl Franklin, one of the best American films in the 90s. One False Move by Carl Franklin, one of the best films of the 90s, and arguably Bill Paxton's finest 2 hours. And After Hours, one of my favourite Scorsese's from the 80s, one of his underappreciated ones, but it just gets better and better. And they're all lovely.
Can I ask you a question, Rory?
Yes.
Are you suggesting One False Move is better than Predator 2?
Yes.
All right, just checking. Right, you go.
Yes. And of course,
even I would have to, reluctantly, yeah, I would have to say yes to that as well. But I feel your question, Peter.
Feel my pain.
Lone Star's coming out in 4K and Criterion next year. Another one of the great American films of the 90s.
Yes, One False Move. It was the first time watch for me this year. What a film!
Breathtaking. I mean, I know people are
brilliant.
Put off a bit by the first 10 minutes because it is pretty brutal. But
it is.
Stick with it.
Yeah. Okay. Although what I would say about it is the imprint disc has the interview with Michael Beach on it, which is a brilliant interview where he basically talks about the fact that the part wasn't written like that, and
I've got the imprint as well. Obviously.
It's terrific.
Because that was the first one that came out.
Yep.
Yeah, so I've got Get Carter in 4K, which is a wonderful film. The thing is, I always thought it was a good film, but I was never mad about it. The way some people are mad about it. Like, I had a lecturer in uni who was a massive fan of Get Carter. And then I saw the 4K version where it had been remastered and it had been done. It was like, oh, I get it. This is why it's so good, because it's like just the atmosphere, especially because I hadn't seen it for so long, and just get the atmosphere again. It was just like, yeah, this feels like you want to go for a bath afterwards just to get the grime out of your system, because it's so like, even even Carter's such a total scumbag. You just feel dirty after watching the film. It's wonderful, and put that's a double bill with Flash Gordon, same director, and watch people get confused.
Yeah, but I think that's a perfect example of how to do a character that's a scumbag, but you're still fascinated by him and you still want to find out what happens rather than just switching off and just not giving a shit because this guy's just too much of a scumbag. It treads that thin line on the right side of it.
Okay. So we'll let Chris go through the rest of his choices now because he has to go in 10 minutes. So
family commitments indeed. Well, thankfully I haven't got too many left. I've got a couple of anthologies. Dead of Night, one of the great portmanteau films with a lot of the great British directors in it. Horror. It's terrific. It might be the best portmanteau film that there is. Anthology, Japanese anthology of Kwaidan. First time watch for me this year. Kobayashi, like, it's ridiculous how good a storyteller.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
That
film.
man was. Yeah, absolutely phenomenal storyteller. And like, again, a very long film, but again, could watch another 3 or 4 of them in a row. May as well talk about readings for this year. Nobody's brought them up yet, but like, you could pick pretty much any one of their releases. Could go for the Cosa Nostra box set. I gotta pick the Iron Prefect. I think that's my favorite first time watch of theirs this year. Yeah. Absolutely loved it. Juliana Gemma as against type of what I've seen beforehand as the Iron Prefect and the storytelling of that. But ultimately, you could pick any Radiance release this year. They've all been terrific, with the exception of one for me, which is the modern film.
Famously, the director said, give me any other actor apart from Juliana Gemma. Because I think the first pick was Burt Lancaster was his first
Yes,
choice.
Indeed, that's right. But I mean, such a different film, I think, with Burt Lancaster as well. I think because part of the thing is, a bit like Juliana Gemma, they don't see him coming, in a lot of ways. So I think that makes it even more effective. And then the last thing I'm going to talk about is a set that I'm still only halfway through. And I'm not even sure why I really like it so much, because it was a set that I picked up and went, why are you buying this? It's going to sit on the shelf unwatched, but at least it is getting watched. It's the Michael J. Murphy Magic Myth and Mutilation box set. This micro-budget filmmaking, I'm sort of fascinated by it. Like, I have to say, the guy had such talent for having no money. I wouldn't even say any of the films are even that good, but it's fascinating. It's the kind of thing I'll take a disc and watch a couple of movies after a row and go,
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't have any of these on a list anywhere, but what this guy did with so little is terrific. And like having this, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't think many
something.
people are watching it. Yeah. And it is
But
one of those things that people will keep on watching through. So.
Yeah, I mean, for people
Yeah.
who say, "Oh, they're not very good," or "Why are they releasing it?" It's like, well, where's your box set from Indicator?
It is. It's phenomenal that the guy had, like I say, had no money. He was doing it as a hobby on the side, but he definitely had talent. Like, there's no doubt. If somebody had given him a bit of money for one film, I think you might have got something. Probably another telling of Tristan and Assault, to be honest. But
Yes, that seems to be my favourite story.
yeah.
But yeah, I've got that as well, but I only bought it recently during the sales. But it was one of those ones that's like, I'm interested into it. I just haven't started yet. Probably have to wait
Yeah,
till
you
the new
can
year
watch a
now,
couple,
'cause-
put them down, watch a couple.
That's what I've been doing. So I'm about halfway through the third disc at the moment. It's free.
Cool.
So that's me.
That's you. So, are you going, Chris? Are you?
I am going to duck off, and then I shall catch up on the rest of your picks to see what else I need to spend my money on this year. But this was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, as
everybody.
always.
All right, I'll speak to you so soon.
Cheers.
Happy Christmas,
Bye.
Release. Take care.
Thank
All
you.
the best. Bye.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.
Aye.
There we go. We're and then number 3. And what talking about winning appreciation for Scorsese. Yeah, join the club.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you should rewatch this one that I, for some reason, have on Blu-ray.
Just to hand for some reason.
Gangs of New York. Yeah.
Yep.
Gay Fear
So-
remake.
Yeah. So
Maybe
it's now,
watch the finished dub.
we'll probably improve certain actors. So it's SGS's turn now.
Yeah. So I'll mention another Japanese anime film. So it's Kiki's Delivery Service by Studio Ghibli and Hayao Miyazaki. So this I watched again because Tony in the comments, because it's one of his favorites. So, and I fell in love with this one. It's my favorite Studio Ghibli film. I've kind of noticed this year that I seem to prefer the ones that have a bit more of that kind of slice of life and a bit more kind of a minimalist plot, and they aren't the very huge adventures like Princess Mononoke and those, even though I again like those ones as well. But, yeah, I'm losing my train of thought every time he comments, but yeah.
Yeah, I know it's funny. It's
Focus.
partly my fault for putting them up for just to start the talk.
Getting hornier and hornier. Yeah.
Yes, I think you put that down there. I think your neck will not hold up.
Well, I'll
Put it
try
down
to
or strap it to your forehead.
I'll try to be a champion and wear it the whole podcast, even though again my neck is hurting a bit. But anyway, it's not
always
that heavy.
Yeah, I need to watch more Studio Ghibli. I've got quite a lot of them on like Blu-ray, but I just have not been watching them because I got them cheap, and it's like I really need to start watching.
I've only seen the Red Turtle, so
No, don't stop posting. I still love your comments, even though they make my train of thought go away, or whatever you say.
Yeah. Right, so it's running now. You go.
I'll just mention Second Run, who are fantastic, and I do have so many of them in the backlog. But Twilight is really good. Again, from Hungary, a serial killer film based on the same story as The Pledge, the Jack Nicholson film. I did a double take about the two.
Yeah.
The Miraculous Virgin, which is absolutely wonderful, about a group of artists, just amazing photography. And back to the fairy tale stuff, The Three Wishes for Cinderella, which I would highly recommend, from Czechoslovakia from 1973. It's just so good. A slightly different take on Cinderella, but it's absolutely awesome. And I hope somebody does the Blu-ray of that, because I think it's just on DVD. But it's absolutely wonderful.
Cool.
Yeah, I really want to watch both of those. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw Coach to Vienna this year. I watched that, and I watched that time travel one you all recommend to me, the T one.
Yeah, tomorrow I'll wake up
Yeah.
and scald myself with tea.
Yep. I preferred Coach to Vienna, to be honest. Coach to Vienna was wonderful. It's not on my list because I just watched it and I've just done a video on it. It's like feels like so close.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
that doesn't stop. Pardon?
Yeah. I also watched Coach to Vienna this year, and it was wonderful. Yeah.
Yep. But even though I did a video on this film recently, I'm still bringing it up, which is Black Hat, which has a director's cut involved as well as a normal theatrical cut.
Yeah.
Now the theatrical
Director's
cut is okay, but the director's cut's so much better. It makes more sense about everything, and it's paced better, and it just flows so much better. And it's like, why was this not released this way? This is a far superior film, and it's only because of a few changes they made, and it's like it just improves the film so much and paces it out so much better. And it's just bizarre how a studio can mess their film up. But now you can actually see it properly. The director's cut in Blu-ray here. I mean, by the 4K version, you actually can see director's cut, and it is wonderful. It's really worth seeing.
It is kind of weird for a director Michael Mann's stature that how many of his films have kind of been messed about.
Yeah, I mean, it's just studios though, because he tries to do his own films. Plus, he likes to change his films as well, so it's not like it's all them. Some of it's him. I mean, many Manhunters have been. Got some Manhunter,
Yeah.
Last of the Mohicans,
Miami
Ali.
Vice, which got an 88
Miami
films
Vice.
release, which gives you
Yeah.
both cuts, which is wonderful.
Yes, there's so many films that he kind of likes to tinker with. So so it's not just him. It's not just the studio, it's him as well. But this one was a bit weird though, because it was such a bad decision to switch some of the story art around. And it just took away from so much of what was going on in the film.
Yeah, it went up a star in my ratings because of the director's cut.
Yeah, it's and it just made more sense to the characters as well. Everything everyone was doing made sense suddenly.
Yeah.
So, yep.
Yeah,
so
I haven't
Rennie,
seen it
the
yet.
Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Yeah. Well, I mentioned a couple of fairly unknown modern Japanese films that aren't really available on physical media, although they are the type of films that Third Window might put out sometime. But they are both by a director called Shunji Iwai. One of them is called Picnic. It's from the mid-90s, and then the other one is called Hannah and Alice, and it's from 2004. So Picnic is about these mental patients in a mental institution, but then they go to these kind of trips outside, and they walk around, and they have these weird discussions, but it's such a beautiful looking film with these painterly shots and very charming with these kind of out of ordinary type of characters. And again, I think it looks at these mental patients with great empathy, even though there was maybe some caricature here and there, as these type of films tend to have. But yeah, this was my favorite out of the two, but the other one is really good too, Hannah and Alice. It's this kind of what is romantic triangle, like for teenagers, but it's made in this art house style, but it has many of those kind of rom-com things to it, so it might not be for Solitary Ronin, but as I love this type of film, it's so good. And again, another film that just looks absolutely stunning. There's this kind of ballet scene that is just so beautiful. But yeah, for people who like romantic films, who like comedies, who love weird Japanese films, again, both of these are for those people. And hopefully Third Window will put them out sometime.
I don't mind romantic comedies as long as all the people
Everyone
die in
dies.
a bizarre gardening accident at the end.
Yes.
For my next little bunch, a filmmaker that I absolutely fell in love with and featured in a label that I absolutely fell in love with, Death Crocodile, and it's Alexander Pushko, or the Russian Disney, as he was called. Ilya Muromets, or The Sword and the Dragon, is just absolutely amazing. The cinematography is just out of this world. And again, Sampo, or The Day the World Froze, is just ridiculously good. Again, the visuals they're all kind of fairy tale, and the tale of Zar Salton again is just ridiculous. The imagery, it's just absolutely gorgeous, and these films are amazing. And Deaf Crocodile are releasing a couple more Alexander Pushko films next year as well, which I cannot wait for. Kind of fantasy Disney films done properly.
Is someone's door's going? All right. Well, he's off to get assassinated. It was nice knowing him.
Yeah.
You know. So we'll just wait for a second and see what happens.
Yeah.
Right. So you have more comments here.
Yeah.
Someone's. No, I've sent out a hitman for him. Honestly, it's I'll wait to pick up the show. Don't worry, he's gone. He's never coming back. Yeah, he's probably does a movie delivery. I mean, it's typical. Yeah,
He's back.
Yeah, key delivery service.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
So you went assassinated then?
No, it was Alexander Pushko.
All right. So, right, my next one is two 4Ks. I don't have the boxes with me. It's Lost Highway, Night of the Hunter, both in 4K. Now, I've seen these films before, but seeing them in 4K, 4K in black and white, and 4K with dark colors, just looks gorgeous. It just really does. And seeing both of these when remastered, they were just wonderful. I mean, these are two of the great films that, I mean, Lost Highway is maybe not as appreciated as it should be, but Night Hunter definitely is. But they're both like wonderful films, and actually seeing them both in 4K this year really did my faith in humanity no harm at all. Really, to see such beautiful things like been remastered and taken care of.
Yeah, me and Cine Art Therapy discussed Lost Highway yesterday on our podcast, and I also talked about Night of the Hunter in another podcast recently, and Lost Highway in that too. And Night of the Hunter I actually saw in the cinema in London. It's just perfect movie, and Lost Highway, I mean, it's so good. Cruise me, baby. Like, that's one of my favorite David Bowie songs.
Yeah. So I guess Dick Laurent is dead. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, Dick Laurent was at the door.
Yep. And yep, it is. It's a masterpiece, and it's so simple, but it works so well. Yeah, no, it's. I think sometimes we also saw Sweet Smell Success this year. I didn't put it in the list. But again, something just seeing these films again, may not have watched for a while, they just bring you back to why you love cinema. Sometimes it's good to give a break for a film, and then when you see them again, it's like, wow, that was really something.
Yeah, Sweet Smell Success should get a 4K.
Yeah, it should. But it looks gorgeous in Blu-ray. And my Blu-ray was the old Arrow one, and it still looked gorgeous. So it's still such a good quality.
Yeah, it's one of the best shot black and white films of all time.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm sure it will get a 4K sooner than later.
Yep. So,
well,
it's ready. Hey, shut up, you. It's ready. The Red Nose Reindeer.
Yeah.
Because we're down from 4 to 3, it's confusing.
Yeah. So I watched some Hong Sang-soo films. He's a very important modern Korean filmmaker. And my favorite of the ones that I watched was called Oki's movie. It's one of his bit earlier films from 2010, but it has his kind of that style that, again, not much happens, but he plays with the structure a lot. And it's in this kind of non-linear narrative. We don't really know what is in the past and what is in the future, what is current, and so it's very interesting structurally. But in terms of the plot, it's just this kind of relationship, kind of love triangle thing with fun characters, great dialogue. I know Tony in the comments, he watched some Hong Sang-soo films as well, but this one was one that he didn't like as much, but I love this one.
I'm so tempted to make a Chris Nolan joke here. I really am. Considering your love of Chris Nolan.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
I haven't seen them.
These Korean films have non-linear structures, but they don't explain everything through the exposition. So
Yeah.
they are actually a bit more complex than all films.
Yeah.
That's a bold statement.
Yep. Since you're dying to move on, Ronan, on you go.
I was just can't go a year without some Volante.
Of course.
So Operation Ogro, which is based in a true story of trying to assassinate the successors to Franco, which is rather wonderful. And even better is Ayahopora, or I Am Afraid, where he plays a bodyguard trying to stop a terrorist plot. And that's even better. It's also got Erland Josephson and Mario Adolf in it. That's awesome as well. And it's Prime Volante. Hopefully they get some Blu-rays as well. Radiance, hopefully.
Cool. My next one's Sparrow by Johnny To, which I just had in a DVD, just a rubbish DVD copy. It's wonderful. It's charming as hell. Simon Yam starred in it. Just get these Hong Kong pickpockets and just watch them do their job, and then a plot of it develops in it, and conspiracy stuff develops. But it's all about just the charm of the style. I'm pretty sure it was Who's from Touch of Film that put me onto this one. It was either him or Dion, but I heard how good Sparrows was, and I finally saw it, and it was like, yep, it's just exactly as good as I said it was. It's just a wonderful, charming film. It's the most charming film I've seen all year. You know, because it doesn't try to be charming, just is. So and you can get it in DVD. It's easy to find, it's cheap, and I'd highly recommend it to anybody.
Yeah, I've picked up as well. It's another good Johnny To film.
Yep.
I mean, I would argue he's never made a great film, but I would also argue he's never made anything less than good or very good. He's one of those directors for me that is never bad and he's never great, but he's always watchable and always enjoyable.
Why do you make that sound so damning?
Just saying.
You haven't made something great. How dare you,
being
sir?
honest. He just makes very good, enjoyable films. What a crime.
Yeah, I say good day to you, sir.
Yes.
Make a masterpiece next week when you go.
He doesn't have peaks and valleys. He has a very consistent output.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah. I couldn't resist. Okay, Rennie, the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Yeah.
We're still waiting for the Rennie Harlan film.
Well, I'll mention it a bit later. Yeah.
Right.
But I'm actually gonna mention an American film. What a crime!
What? What?
Yeah. Well, at least it's a kind of indie film, not like a.
I hope at least the subtitles is from a culture we can't hear properly. No, it's in English.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
You've changed.
But I barely know you now.
Yeah. But it's called Mysterious Skin by Greg Araki. And it's even starring Joseph Gordon-Levitt. And I always say, when I talk about this film, that I never thought that Joseph Gordon-Levitt could be in a masterpiece. And that's why I kind of had low expectations for this film. But anyway, this film is all about trauma. It's about these two young guys, and one of them has memory loss due to this awful trauma, and one of them kind of develops this weird sexual behavior, and he becomes like a sex worker, gay sex worker due to the trauma. But even though it has some like really horrible stuff in it, it's done like very tastefully and not in a very kind of brutal way. I mean, it's emotionally brutal, but not like as brutal like in terms of violence as a film like this could have, but it's brutal enough. And Joseph Gordon-Levitt is actually really good in this, even though I don't really like him that much. And I also love the soundtrack. soundtrack in this, it's so beautiful and dreamy, but this film really surprised me and I absolutely adored it and it really exceeded my expectations.
Yeah, I think actually I've heard of it, but I don't know from where.
I've had it recommended quite a few times, but I still haven't watched it because I'm lazy.
But it should be coming on Criterion. By the way, they had many of the Greg Araki films on the Criterion channel, and I think they've kind of said that there will be like a box set of his stuff. So
cool. Yeah. I guess it's a case of sometimes some directors I should check them out, but there's also other directors you want to check out at the same time, and you just never get around to them. It's just more if you have too many films to try and see, it just takes a while to get to them.
Yeah.
So, Ronan, you're up next, and it has to be a masterpiece you're talking about.
No pressure. Well, another director that I really got into this year, and strangely enough, I'm going to talk about one of his masterpieces, Kalatozov and Letter Never Sent, and The Cranes Are Flying, and The Red Tent. We need to see the proper cut of that, though. Two early ones that are just stunning visually, and I Am Cuba, which is another absolute masterpiece. I think there's a Blu-ray of that somewhere that I need to pick up because the imagery is amazing.
It's just didn't we do a whole thing in that one? I'm Cuba. Did we not do a video on that one? The politics or something?
We talked about it like a few years ago.
Yeah. I remember talking about it.
Yeah, they're all amazing films, and again, another director that I got seriously into this year.
Yeah, I also had Letter Never Sent in my favorites ranking in my top 50. Like that's such a stunning film and one of those kind of very unbelievable films. You can't believe how they pull the fires off and the cinematography.
Yeah, that wasn't CGI fire, folks.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Well, my next one's a Reconstruction. It's a big red one, Reconstruction, which I haven't watched for a long time. But I rewatched it this year, and it's a masterpiece. It's only an SD, but it's really great. It's like because Sam Fuller made this film. It was cut to hell by the distributors, and finally they managed to get the footage back together and to show the whole thing. Because the film, they tried to turn into a normal war movie when in fact it's about the madness of war and how crazy war is, and these 4 survivors and a sergeant trying to survive the war. And it stars Lee Marvin, and it has some actors you might recognize like Mark Hamill in it, but they're very different from what you normally see them in. And it's a wonderful film, and it is crazy because it's Sam Fuller, and there's some stuff in there within the madhouse you won't believe you're seeing in an American film, which is no. It's not a surprise they were cut out of the film because it was just pretty disturbing, and there was stuff of Eastern Europe and the concentration camps and everything else. So it's a very underrated film that you should see. You can buy the Blu-ray where you get the theatrical cut and the Reconstruction cut, which I'd recommend. It's available in Europe, and I got it fairly cheaply. So it's definitely one to see.
Yeah.
So my turn.
Yes.
So I'm gonna mention another film that Tony recommended to me. So it's Jean-Luc Godard's Une Femme Marie, or The Married Woman, which is one of his kind of more underrated 60s films. And this was a film that kind of pulled me in from the first few minutes, as it starts with this kind of beautiful minimalist black and white shots of these people, and it looks just absolutely stunning and just my style. But this is, I wouldn't say it's one of his most difficult films, but it's a very deep film, a kind of critique of like modern day relationships and consumerism and capitalism and how those things kind of make relationships kind of like products or kind of like consumerist as well, and how again our economic system again destroys our relationships as well, and especially women. But it's just such a beautiful film visually, and I think it should be regarded more highly than it is now, but again, I'm a Godard fanboy, so who am I to say?
Well, you need to have one in there. You need to show your love of Godard somewhere.
Yeah.
I mean, after a David Cronenberg, I mean, it's like there's certain things you cannot not do. Really, you need to show some love to your boys,
so to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah, still to get into the box set. It's on the list like all the other ones are on the list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fassbinder, Angelopoulos, Godard, Ozu,
Yep.
Fellini.
I need to retire. Another filmmaker that I've kind of went a bit mad on recently is Lino Brocca from the Philippines. So Bayan Ko, which is about union busting, really, is absolutely fantastic. I picked up a fairly bad DVD of 321, which is a kind of trilogy of 3 different stories, loosely based on kind of having some sort of hope at the end. So that's not my favourite Brocca because it's like hopeful in places. Unbelievable.
Oh my god! How dare
Cain and Abel. I know Cain and Abel, which is a familiar story but told with wonderful aplomb. It starts off as a kind of family melodrama, but then turns into something a little bit more apocalyptic. And obviously the BFI set of 2 films by Brocca, one of which is In Siang, and the other is Manila and the Claws of Light, which is arguably his best film. It's an absolute masterpiece. So Filipino wonderment from Lino Brocca, and we really need to see more of his films actually in decent copies.
Yeah, I can also recommend his films. I've only seen Manila, In the Claws of Light, and In Siang, but those are both great films. And please give us Macho Dancer. I need all the films about gay sex workers. So,
Yes.
Yeah, because
I see clutches his antlers.
yes.
yeah.
I noticed that too. Yeah, we need more sex workers.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. My next one is something I saw on streaming. It's a Keep widescreen. I actually just went to see widescreen version of the Keep Michael Mann film. It's still an SD, but I got to see widescreen on a projector. So I got a rough idea what the film was like in the cinema when I saw it this way. Again, I adore this film even though it's completely crazy, and it's like you can see why people have lost their minds about how much they hated it, but I still kind of adore it even though it's utterly insane. So I couldn't not mention it. You know, there's no way I was mentioning it early, but as I'm going towards the end of my list, I thought I've got to mention this one too.
Yeah. It's understandable.
Yeah. On you go, Antler Boy.
Well, my next film is a Japanese film again. It's called Ballad of Orin by Masahiro Shinoda. I did this kind of a more Shinoda binge in the fall. So I watched this one, then I watched Under the Blossoming Cherry Trees, then I watched one of Natharine's favorites, Silence, which was another great one. Then I watched
that's a brilliant film.
Yeah.
And damn the remake.
Yeah. Getting back to Scorsese. Yeah.
Yes.
And then the 4th Shinoda film that I watched was called Himiko, which was also amazing. But Ballad of Orin was my favorite one. So it's about this blind woman in this kind of changing period in Japanese society when they're slowly moving from tradition to modernity, and we see kind of developments in technology and the society. But she's obviously treated so awfully as she's blind, and there are all these awful men around that always want to exploit her. And as she's so lonely, she tries to find connection, and she actually accepts these awful men into her life, and because she's just so lonely. So it's a very brutal film, but beautifully done, and again would be a great double bill with like a Mizoguchi film, like again Shansho the Bailiff or things like that. But these Shinoda films you can watch on Criterion Channel, and I think there was some Eclipse box set back in the day as well, but I'm not quite sure.
Cool.
Yeah, it's another filmmaker I need to see more of. This might be one of the films of the year for me that I watched, and certainly a very nice release. Finally mentioning Radiance, who have been the label of the year for me, along with Death Crocodile. It's Messiah of Evil, which I did a video on. This is a film that shouldn't work, but just does in spectacular fashion. The film students who kind of came up with George Lucas and such were going to help George Lucas write American Graffiti, and then they got the opportunity to make this, so they wrote it themselves. They would later go on and direct Howard the Duck, but don't actually let that put you off. This is
I've got Howard the Duck in 4K. Streaming 4K streaming is not.
Special edition box set. It's just a wonderful film. It's a kind of American Gothic about an artist who goes to this seaside Californian town to search for her artist father who's went missing. It's just a mix of a lot of strange things. You can see foreshadowing to Dawn of the Dead, for example, amongst other things. It's just a weird, strange film. The production design is amazing. Her father, played by the wonderful Roy O'Donnell, his studio and the paintings inside that studio need to be seen to be believed. It just all the elements come together just to create this odd, strange kind of masterpiece. It was shot in 1971, didn't come out until 1973, and it's just absolutely amazing. But it's going to only appeal to a certain kind of person. It's not going to appeal to everybody, but if it's up your alley, it's well up your alley, so to speak.
So how would it appeal to Howard the Duck purists?
They probably wouldn't like it.
Right. Just well, I'm just getting something for my that I forgot to get.
There's no sex with birds in it, so.
Oh, for God's sake! Well, I'm out then.
Yeah.
Right. Sorry. I forgot to get this before we started. This was one of my choices, and because what you just described, I thought I bet you see this one now, which is Dragon Slayer, and the 4K Dragon Slayer, which is also from people who went to school with George Lucas, and it was done by ILM, did the special effects because they were all friends together, and you get the 4K, you get documentaries. Yeah, and Dragon Slayer is a very unsentimental film that freaked out the studio that made it because they were expecting a sword and sorcery happy movie, and what they got was a movie that was pretty brutal and killed lots of people off, and a dragon that was actually intimidating, and it's it's wonderful, but its lead character does not look like a hero. Its lead lady does not look like a heroine, and it's just wonderful. I mean, it's not as deep as some people would like to claim it to be, but it's just as a really good telling of an old kind of mythical tale, and it just works really well. Plus, it's old school special effects. They had to build a dragon and also use like stop motion for it, and they really put the work in for this film. And then it came out and everyone hated it, and it dropped dead, and that was it gone. And now then it was rediscovered years later because people watched it on TV. But it is wonderful. Now it's got its proper place with this new release.
Yeah, it's a beautiful release.
Yep.
I haven't seen it since I was a teenager, I don't think.
Oh yeah, it really looks gorgeous in that release. It's one of those ones that's like, should I buy it, should I not? Then you buy it and it's like, yep, I'm glad I bought this one. This really works.
Yeah.
So SGS looks as if, what the hell is he on about? What?
Yeah, I was actually starting to think that again. I was thinking that which film is Dragon Slayer again, because I remember this one Dragon film from like my childhood, and I'm pretty sure it's that one. Yeah.
Wait a second.
I thought that was Paranormal Activity 10 there.
That was my
I thought
sister
that was
visiting.
Paranormal Activity 12.
Yeah,
or
no,
Stephen King's The Door.
that's my sister visiting. She did something for me.
Yeah, I have to
Wow.
check Dragon Slayer very quickly from Letterboxd whether it's the film that I'm thinking about.
Yeah. So we've got love the Silence of Northern. I actually like to see the remake.
No, this is a
Yeah,
different
for
one.
shame. Yeah, exactly. Still did watch the Dragon one.
Yeah,
Japanese one's a good one.
what is the Dragon film that I'm thinking like?
What was the one?
Yeah, there's this like 90s or 80s Dragon film that I used to love, but can't think of the name.
Is that the
now.
Dennis Quaid one?
Yeah,
The
probably.
Talking Dragon.
Yeah.
No, this is a different one. This is the
Dragonheart
Talking one.
Yeah, Dragonheart. Yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
one. Yeah.
No. Right. Life of Haru. Yep. We've got I just Sans remake 2, but I've not seen the original Shamefully. Yep. Okay, so I want to watch pleasant, romantic, ravishing, beautiful films at the moment. Yep.
Yeah, I just don't understand that.
Yeah. No, I mean,
that's a mystery to me.
I've been watching Godzilla films in the last week. It's been great, but after you hit 7 Godzilla films in 2 weeks, you start thinking maybe I've gone too far. Maybe I've pushed this one too far.
Yeah, that's one of my big favorites, top 50
Yeah.
level. Yeah.
I love All Fools. He's great.
Yeah.
So I've lost
Back on
who's.
Rainy.
Yeah, it's my
Oh
turn.
right, yeah. I kind of lost whose turn it was after the which Dragon film
Supernatural
did we
Door.
see? Yeah, this creepy door.
So the next film I'm gonna talk about is this kind of unknown, very underrated French new wave film by Guy Gilles called Wall Engravings in English and Open Coupe in French, and I watched it in this rare film archival website that actually Nazarene sent me a link of that website, like I think early this year, and then after that I've kind of been watching so many films from that website. But it's kind
You
of
have to
this.
send me the link back because I lost the link.
Yeah.
So send me the link back, please. 'Cause...
I mean, it's somewhere in our messenger, right? I mean,
Nice.
if you scroll through, yeah. But
Right.
anyway, so this is kind of a film that I don't have that much to say about because it's one of those kind of visual feast films that every shot is like a painting, very beautiful. It has that kind of Jacques Demy vibe, but kind of more meditative. It's kind of like a mix of Jacques Demy and Alain Resnais. So that's a kind of interesting mix. Alain Resnais vibe, but Jacques Demy visuals, basically. Yeah, but very beautiful, tender film that, again, Tony also loved when I recommended it to him. But yeah, hopefully it will get a release, maybe by Radiance or someone at some point in the future.
Yep. So,
speaking of Radiance, this is my last pick, even though obviously I could have picked another 50. I talked about Mexica Macabre from Indicator as possibly being the box set of the year, but the other one in contention is the Cosa Nostra Frank Nero set from Radiance, with The Day of the Owl, The Case is Closed, Forget It, How to Kill a Judge. These are all absolutely wonderful films with different Franco Nero performances. Again, we all probably, or some of us, have the image of Nero just from his westerns, but he gives 3 different performances in these films. Lee J. Cobb's in one of these and gives another subtle Lee J. Cobb performance. But as I said, Radiance have really knocked out the park. Not too many of their titles I haven't liked so far, and next year they're doing amazing work to start the year as well. As many Italian and Japanese films as they can release would be fantastic. And it's just a wonderful set of films that you should definitely check out. So that's arguably my favourite box set of the year, along with the Mexican Macabre from Indicator.
yeah, I've got it, but I haven't watched it yet. It's so it's one of those ones. I've had a year where I haven't watched as much as I'd like, so that's one of the ones I've missed out on. But yeah, I've avoided covering anything I've bought that I haven't seen yet, because there's quite a lot of films I've bought in box sets, but I haven't quite got around to yet. But
Yes.
Yeah, Yeah, I'm actually getting finally my first Radiance Blu-ray either next week or after Christmas because I pre-ordered the Elegant piece that's gonna come out next Monday. But as I'm live in Finland, it might not come before Christmas, but we'll see.
Yeah, and there's a trilogy of the guy who's in Baby Cart coming out in March as well, a box set. So that's. I haven't even watched the End of Civilization box set they got. The Italian comedy box set was fantastic.
Yeah, but I've in the Civilization come through as well. Although it took a while because it went to the Isle of Arran, just off where I live, and then went back to Glasgow. Then finally got to me, and it was like, God, where's it gone? Damn thing going. So my Leicester's Musketeer films in 4K and Blu-ray, which you got the Three Musketeers, Four Musketeers, plus Return of the Musketeers on the Killed Lorber. I showed these to my nephew. And one of the reasons I choice is I showed him Musketeer films and he loved them. And he was really into them. It's like passing it on to another generation of how fun these films are. Not set up all of Reed films where he dominates the films. The best version of the Musketeer story. You know, it was just a joy. I mean, they take a look at the time period and have a lot of fun with it and poke holes in the absurdities and just. They went to Spain to film it as well, so even though they weren't shooting in France and Spain, they did all these different like buildings that looked like that period, which they could use for France, and it's just a wonderful set of films. Just great cast. It's exactly the kind of films they don't do anymore. They're kind of blockbusters where you give a director with talent, money to hire a good writer, and a cast to actually go and do a film. It's quality as well as entertainment.
Yeah. Fantastic. I've got them as well.
Yep. So
my turn. So I'll mention a couple of, or we can go through the comments first. But
yep. Before you start, what box sets Roman made me buy?
Mexico
Macabre and Cosa Nostra. Yeah, I know the feel, and I get Mexico Macabre because of him as well. It's like
you won't regret it.
I know that, but I'm still going to blame you.
Some of the things I recommend you might regret, but not the Mexico Macabre.
Yeah, I mean that's I bought a Roma section from Arrow a while ago, and you got so much in there. I think they've cut the box set up into smaller sets since then. Yeah. But you got all of these things. And,
that green set on top of me is the Comedies and Proverbs set.
Yeah, because initially this massive set that was going for way too much money.
Yeah,
that I bought, and it's like it's going to take me forever to watch all of these. And that's when Arrow was releasing Roma massive box sets, and Revette was out one that did Arrow release out one. I can't remember.
Yeah. I suppose it's like the Fassbinder ones. They released them with books, and now they're releasing them just in standard.
Yep.
Yeah. So mentioning that film makes me even more horny because it's about gay fantasies and it has the color pink. So anyway, but it's on the Rare Film website. Yeah, good quality, as good as it can be because it's shot in cheap film and stuff. So, but it's like 720p.
Yeah, actually, you have to look a bit more slutty with that thing when you see that. You have to...
Yeah, it's too bad that I don't have the stereotypical kind of gay characteristics that some people have, like the limp wrist and stuff like that. Yeah. But what can I do?
So, well, thanks.
Yeah.
So, I'm sure Tony enjoyed that.
Yeah.
So
it was my turn now. Yeah. So anyway, I was gonna mention two Portuguese films by Pedro Costa. I know Ronin watched one of these this year and he didn't like it, but so one of them is called Horse Money and the other is called Vitalina Varela, which is the one that Ronin watched and gave it, I think, 2 stars, so he didn't like it, but what can you do? Film is subjective. Yeah. But anyway, so these are very low budget films about the immigrant experience in Portugal, in Europe, and they have that kind of very dark, kind of expressionistic cinematography, which is kind of my favorite thing about these films, but they are slow cinema, very bleak, nothing really happens. It's just people standing and sitting in dark, really awful looking houses and stuff. But it kind of shows how, again, the immigrants they're lived in this awful existence, in this trapped existence in Europe, and they don't really have anywhere to go. And the cinematography is kind of shows all the themes of the films in a way, how the films are shot in a very dark and kind of that trapped and claustrophobic way. But I can totally understand why somebody wouldn't like these films, but I've become a huge fan of Petro Costa and slow cinema in general, but he's one of my favorite slow cinema directors, along with Bellatar and Tarkovsky.
Second run ones.
Yeah, second run.
I think I've got Horse Money, but I haven't watched it. It's one of the ones I've got that I have yet to. See, I've got a lot of second run stuff on like DVD and Blu-ray, like X-Ray, and the discs. I haven't got through them all yet. So I think that's one of them. So
yeah, it just didn't do anything for me, to be honest. But
unlike Rennie Harlin films, but again,
yes,
So,
they do something else. But then,
yeah, I'm amazed that Rodin didn't bring up Broken Lullaby or Bluebeard's Eighth Wife from this year.
no,
The
I mean,
stuff.
I could literally have emptied my shelves, but
Yeah, right. Well, that was more my choices. So I don't know if we want to just kind of run, since Rodin's kind of finished, we just run down the other ones. We had choices, and we'll just cover them the way that that we let Chris do it. That'd be good.
Yeah.
So I'll let Rennie the Red-Nosed Reindeer go for me. So, as I've only got a few anyway.
Yeah, I have like a couple left on my list, but then I was during this chat thinking about a couple of TV shows maybe that I could also mention quickly.
Oh, just mention them then. Yep.
Yeah, but I'll mention the films first. So I watched some Nobuhiko Obayashi films this year. So he's the director who made Hausu, and he's often kind of just known for Hausu, and people don't watch his other films. But I watched these films called Chichuko's Younger Sister, which is one of the ones that Third Window hasn't released at least yet, but hopefully they will. But it's this kind of very beautiful, hypnotic film, quite sad. It's about this family where the older kind of daughter of the family dies, but then the younger sister kind of starts to see her older sister that died as a ghost, and then they still have that relationship after that tragedy. But then the other Obayashi film that I watched and loved was his Motorbike, Her Island, which is in the second Third Window set. But that's kind of all about young love and kind of how young love is so beautiful at first, but how it's often so short term and how it often ends in tragedy. So it's both beautiful and tragic. But Obayashi films, I love the visual style there. So again, hypnotic and beautiful, and I kind of love the mix of the lowbrow and highbrow. Obayashi's films are kind of like anime films in that sense, but just live action, that they have this kind of very ridiculous, stupid, and you could say childish stuff, but then they also have that kind of highbrow intellectualism about them. And then I also watched one of his more recent films, again, that he made before he died, called Hanagatami, which is a war film that doesn't really show war, but it's a perfect film as well. And that's in the first Obayashi set that I got as Cine Art Therapy, bought that set for me as a present. So thank you again, Altes, for that. But anyway, I would recommend the Obayashi films to everybody who loves Japanese cinema. They are quite underappreciated, aside from Hausu. Should I go through the other?
Yeah, just go through everything.
Yeah, so those were the films. So I'll just mention this first one is actually something that surprised me, and I cannot believe that I'm talking about one of the Disney Star Wars things, but it's the Ahsoka Star Wars story. I actually really enjoyed that one because that's kind of more what I want from Star Wars. So there was constant like lightsaber duels, and it's all about the Jedi and the Sith, and the villain Baylan was so great in it, and visually it also looked better to me than some of the others, like again Obi-Wan. The Kenobi series was like one of the bad things about that was how it looks so kind of artificial and bland, but I think Ahsoka looked a bit better, and it was such a fun story, and I enjoyed the characters, and somehow, even though I'm this art house snob, I seem to like that show more than most people, which is quite weird. And then also Okay, one of my favorite anime shows that I got into this year is Attack on Titan that just finished, and I watched it a couple of times this year and absolutely fell in love with it. I think it's already like after a couple watches one of my like top 10 TV shows of all time. That's how much I love it. Again, it has lots of kind of philosophical themes, great action. It's very bleak, very emotional, especially in the end. So I would recommend that to everybody. And then one more show is this short 1-season long anime show in Netflix called Blue Period, which is about this young teenager who does well in school, but he's not passionate about anything. But then he stumbles on these art students, and then he suddenly gets interested in painting, and he becomes like absolutely obsessed about painting, and he wants to go to university to study painting. And so it's all about that, again, artistic process and how we fall in love with art and what art means to us. So for us cinephiles and people who love art, it's kind of a perfect show and such a beautiful and fun watch. I kind of devoured it instantly, and it's kind of like a film because it's only 4 hours long, so you can watch it in a day. But yeah, that's it for my recommendations. Again, these were all like first time watches this year, so I've had lots of great rewatches as well. Like again, I rewatched the Buddhist trilogy, I rewatched Shansho the Bailiff, I rewatched Black Narcissus, and so many great films. So
Cool. Yeah,
What's
I don't know
better,
that
Black
many.
Narcissus or Pink Narcissus?
well, I rewatched both of them, and both of them are great films. So yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know that many. I'm just going to cover them very briefly. I rewatched Justice League animated series, and this in the honestly, I tend to watch animated stuff in January when it's cold, and I tend to binge animated stuff. And for some reason, January is my animated time, but I do have a soft spot for DC animated stuff. I actually saw Barb and Star go to Vista de la Mar, which is a big silly comedy starring Kristen Wiig that looks like it's completely awful, but when you actually watch it, it's clever and funny. But these two middle-aged women who go to this hotel after they've been fired and have to try and move out of their lives, and it could be terrible, but actually it's really wonderful because it's very self-aware, very aware of how bad it could be, and it's just one of those films that just works. And it's one of those films that surprise you how good it is compared to how it should be. I rewatched Fat City, which was wonderful. I've got a video on that one, so I'm not going to cover it because I've done a whole video on it. Roaring Currents is the same. It's a Korean film about a sea battle where they were going to outgun the Japanese and they still won. That was really good. We've got Brain Dead, another one I did a video on. The one from the Roger Corman produced one that's very weird. There's Dillinger. There's a Thick of It and Brass Eye. I rewatched them, and it was very satisfying to rewatch them. And we have a Johnny Mnemonic black and white version, which, if you're listening to that or Johnny Mnemonic, having it seen in black and white actually improves the film quite a bit because it actually makes it moodier and it makes more sense. But it is kind of just kind of a weird film still. So I kind of enjoy watching that just to see a difference for switching to color to black and white, how much difference it can make in a film. But that's about it, really. There's other stuff. But
yeah, can I just mention as far as TV, I finally saw We Own the City, the David Simon
yeah,
6-parter one, which was very good. Obviously, it's difficult to compare 6-part things with 5-season things. And also to mark Andre Braugher's passing, everybody go watch or rewatch Homicide: Life in the Street.
Yep, that's wonderful. It's one of my favorite shows, Homicide. Yeah, I recommend Ronan's video about On the Prayer. It's a really good video. I would have done one, but since Ronan did it perfectly, I was like, well, he's done it. Just send them your way.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Go check
plan to
out
check out
Homicide.
Maestro, the Bernstein biopic.
Not really, no.
Yeah, it's not really on my radar, but I guess I might watch it at some point. Yeah.
David Simon said Buffy is one of the best shows of the past few decades. The Sledge. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, Maestro is kind of one of those ones that's like, yeah, it's a movie. I don't care.
It's Oscar bait.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, it's one of those ones. Is like, honestly, I'd rather watch Rebel Moon, which looks stupid as hell. I'd much rather watch that than Maestro. It just instantly, like, at least it knows it's stupid and tacky.
Yeah.
Yeah, Hollywood biopics are just the worst thing ever. Like they are so bland and boring.
You need someone really who knows what they're doing and someone who's got a passion for something to really, who's got the talent to pull it off. But the thing is, I don't really care about Bernstein in the first place, so why would I watch the bio?
At this rate, Bradley Cooper's going to end up being one of the greatest filmmakers of all time.
What, you mean better than George Clooney?
Yeah, it's hard to believe.
Yep. I still need to watch that. His last one now. What was it? The remake of what do you call it again?
Star is Born.
Yeah, I still haven't watched it.
I've never
I was
seen
told
any
it was
version
awful
of
by.
it.
I was told how it was absolutely awful by different people, so I
Lady
never watched
Gaga.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like name a biopic by anybody that is actually remembered or considered one of the best films ever made.
Yeah.
Biopics just aren't.
No, well, Mishima Life in 4 chapters.
Yeah, I suppose, but
Yeah.
I mean,
That's
even
Paul
that
Schrader
doesn't really
doing his
get
own
talked
thing.
about. Yeah, it's not a kind of traditional. Let's start from A and follow B, C, D. You know, it's
And Edward Munch by Peter Watkins is a masterpiece.
Yeah. So I haven't seen A Quiet Passion, but I've got it. I need to watch it. It feels I'm seeing that a lot today. At least
yeah, but again, that's
I
Peter
mean,
Watkins and Paul Schrader.
Dion went completely mental how bad it was. So that's what put me off watching it. Yeah, so that's the thing is like, you get an odd one, but usually it's a take on the person. It's not the full life. It's a take on certain part of life. And my worst film of this year was Napoleon, which was a biopic. That was my worst film of the year. It won by a landslide in my head. It started off being one of the worst, and then slowly as the weeks went on before I got to the list, it was it was like, is it worse than Marvel's? Yes. Is it worse than Dial of Destiny? Yes. And eventually it was like, yeah, this is the worst one. This is by far the worst one. There's no one's coming close to this one for worst.
Yeah, I've
Dial
only
of
watched
Destiny sounds like a game show.
Yeah, I've only watched 2 films that came out this year, both in the cinema. So Dial of Destiny, which was pretty awful, but kind of it was still worth laughing at after it ended. So, and then I watched the new Aki Kaurismäki film, Fallen Leaves, and that's something I would also recommend.
Yeah, to see that.
Yeah, but Dial of Destiny, my God.
Strangely enough, I haven't seen any films from this year.
Yeah, it's not been the best of years. It's been much more like there's some entertainment ones, but most of it's been trash. Like, and most of it's been stuff you're like, I can't be arsed. I just can't be arsed watching that. I'd rather rewatch this film I've seen 5 times because it looks more fun than watching that.
There are some that I'm really looking forward to, like the new Lantimos one, Poor Things, and then the new Corera one, Monsters, and then the new Hamaguchi ones, which I don't remember which one it's called.
Yeah, no, but that's the thing. They're all next year for us, basically. It's like they're apparently they're this year's films, but it's like, are you really looking forward to Blood and Flower Moon or Killers in the Flower and Blood Moon? It's like 3.5 hours for a film that in the 90s would take 2 hours to make to watch.
Yeah, fuck Scorsese. I really don't want to see the film. Like, even though people have saying it's like the best thing ever, but yeah, it's gonna be disappointing. Yeah.
The way I figure it, I watched Napoleon. I've done my epic films this year. It was bloody awful. It was an appalling film.
I would rather watch Napoleon than Killers of the Flower Moon because Napoleon is hour like shorter. So,
yeah. Not when you see how absolutely slammed and how completely untrue most of it is, and how it's like they miss so much out in Napoleon. It's like they miss out whole campaigns. They did. It's like my nephew saying he was like they missed out Spain and Napoleon's life, which was kind of a big thing.
Yeah, but Ridley Scott said it's not a historical film. It's like, well, why are you making a film about a historical figure?
I know it's
Make it
it's
about
very
somebody
Scott
else. then.
film in the sense of it's stupid as hell, but it looks very pretty. But yeah, no, it's oh my god. I remember Napoleon flashbacks, just how horrible it was. It's like
Yeah, just go watch the Abel Gance Napoleon from the 1920s.
I know that's brilliant. I watched that
Yeah.
I think last year. It was wonderful. It's just so good. I've got War and Peace ready to go. There's lots of stuff. I watched Waterloo. It's very enjoyable. And yep, I'm going to talk about Kills and Flower Moon. So yep. Yeah, no, I mean it's I'm still recovering from Napoleon. I really am. Wonka almost did it for me, but not quite. Wonka's a very enjoyable film, actually. But it's way better than it should be.
Yeah, I think that's coming out on Blu-ray. Was it March next year?
Yeah.
Movie, I think.
Good stuff. Definitely pick that up.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of stuff. I mean, I'm looking forward to Ferrari, the Michael Mann film, because I'm a Michael Mann fan. I'm looking forward to the new Cronenberg film. There's going to be my new Terrence Malick film. There's about the Jesus coming. So there's some films I'm really looking forward to seeing. It's just that they're not this year, really. And it's just like the Todd Haynes one I'm interested in seeing. The one he just did mid-December. It looks like it's kind of weird and creepy.
Yeah,
So
but
I wouldn't mind seeing.
Yeah, the annoying thing about that is that it's on like American Netflix, but not here in the Finnish Netflix. I might have watched it soon if it was.
Yeah, no, it's VPN. But
Netflix has some new rules, so I'm not sure whether VPN like works with Netflix anymore because you have to because it looks at your location so that you aren't like sharing your password with anybody. Like
all right,
new thing. So I don't know whether VPN works anymore. It's
yeah, no, I mean, I'll catch it at some point. It's just one of those annoying things. It's like that. It's the one film I wanted to see is actually recently, but but just this year there's just not been that much out, and even the films they put out for, say, this is a serious film of this year. You're thinking, no, it's not. It's just stupid. It's not serious. Let me go back to my collection and watch something good instead.
Yeah.
But I haven't been a very serious mind this year. It's been one of those years where it's not been. I've been watching less good films this year, but I'm hoping next year I'll be back to more serious stuff again. But also I've all of years like that where it's like I'm not quite in the zone this year.
For me, it's been like really on and off as always. So the autumn
Yeah.
was really good, but then the summer was really bad for film watching. And the spring was okay, and yeah.
Yeah, no, it's I've been one of those years where now general life has been like a bit more so I've been less
Same.
enthusiasm. But
Fucking life, yeah.
yeah, no.
Yeah.
It gets in the way of
Does
movie
get in the
watching.
way.
Yeah. But I'm hoping this next year I'll be better off to watch some serious things. I've got a lot of stuff bought that I'm looking forward to. I've got the from the director of what do you call it again? Possession. I've got his box set. I'm really looking forward to watch. So I've got a lot of box sets there. I've got everything here to watch. It's just I need to watch them,
Yes, it's a
which is
common
nice.
problem. Yes,
Yep.
you future-proofed yourself.
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. There's lots of stuff I can watch that I'm looking forward to watching. Of course, I know Nostra set as well. Just I haven't watched them yet. It's just been that kind of year. But
And hopefully at some point you will finally watch Rennie Harlin's The Covenant. I mean, even Ronin watched it because I recommended it. So.
yeah, well,
Look at
I
you.
haven't. I'm actually more focused on the Buddhist trilogy, which I still haven't watched, even though I asked you which ones to watch first.
Neither have I.
Yeah, I know, but the thing is, I've got it up like so I can see it. And I still haven't watched it. But it's like I can see it. I know it's there. I know it's there to watch. I know it's like
Yeah, if you could just
it's
watch
just
the
to watch the
blocks,
first.
and then
It's
actually the
just watch
film.
the first one. Well, no, when you watch the first one, you know you'll watch the rest quite easily. Just that first one.
Yeah, it's like The Human Condition that we finally watched after months of SGS shouting at us. And then once you watch the first, it's just like you just go right through it.
Yep.
That thing between your legs, it's like a penis, but only smaller. Yeah.
Yes. You
Well,
want to know
it's like
how bad it's
antlers
gone
as
for me
well.
for stupid. Last night I watched Spy Kids 3D and 3D.
That's Saturday.
I know. I mean, the thing is, I actually had an old DVD disc with the 3D. Now I've got the old glasses. You have the actual old-fashioned 3D. And I thought, why not? What the hell, I just want to watch it. And I had a lot of fun, even though it's not a very good film. But I was in the right mood to watch that kind of dumb movie last night. It was just that kind of mood I was in.
I've just been watching Gilmore Girls all day, every day. So it's
What was
taken
that?
a toll. I've been watching Gilmore Girls all day, every day,
Oh.
and it's taken a toll on my film watching.
Yeah, I know. It's this. I've got like this year I bought Seinfeld and 30 Rock. I know basically once I hit into a mood with them, I'll be gone for like months because the Seinfeld thing is all Seinfeld, all 9 seasons of it. It's like, you know, once you hit that, you're going to be in real trouble.
I've
So I'm a
been
big
trying
fan
to
of it.
sort out my shelves, so I haven't been watching too many films the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, you have to make them perfect.
Yeah,
has to be, I mean, nice and shiny.
absolutely.
So is that us? Or are we just starting rambling on?
I think that's us
Yeah.
for
So
another
we've got
year.
an end message here.
Yeah, Christopher Nolan can kiss my ass. Memento, that was the shit, but actually I want to talk about the Inception. Yeah,
Yes.
the Covenant. And by the way, one thing I need to mention about Rennie Harlin, that his show here, the reality TV show, The Harlins, has been renewed for the 3rd season already. So apparently it's very popular. 3 seasons.
When's it getting physical release?
Yeah,
Yeah, probably not. Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
one
I
and two
aim
available in
next year.
Finland. No.
I aim to do Cutthroat Island next year for one of my What the Hell Is This videos. It's one of my aims. I'm just waiting for it to come down in price and the streaming. It's currently up at £13. I'm like, I'm not paying £13 for this film. I'm waiting till it's £4 like a normal person. Which I think it won't take very long.
Yeah.
I don't know who would buy that for £13.
Sure, there's plenty of people who bought the 4K Steelbook. Threw the film away and just kept the 4K Steelbook.
Are you confessing something?
No, I did not.
I mean, more people will buy that than the actual good films because people are so nuts. Normal people are so weird, like I said last time. So.
Yes. Yeah. When you get a T-shirt with that printed on it.
Yeah. Hopefully so.
Thank you, City Arts. That's a nice
Yes,
comment.
thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So we're going to go
Continue
now.
the good work on your channel.
Yeah, we're going to go now.
Yes.
Enjoy the and
SGS is a way to get those antlers fitted properly to his head.
And shout out to these other
is a way to watch Pink Narcissus again. That's what SGS is doing.
Yes.
Again, for us reindeers, these kind of small antlers are like our baby teeth, so we drop these when we are kids, and but then we have these bigger ones.
Yeah. SGS is always here to bring the homoeroticism into the channel.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
Right. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.